Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to InfoSec Train. This session is towards understanding how to prepare for C-Risk overview. I am Mandar Sahasrabuddhe. I would be delivering this session and let us go through this journey. What is C-Risk? What is a IT risk before that, and about the exam as well as overall focus areas within this exam, who should be appearing for these exams and so on. So welcome to the session and let us start with it. Before that, about us a little bit. We InfoSec Train, I would say we are a young organization with deep pockets of experience across the industry sectors. We have global footprint as our client. We are specifically into information security related services. Let it be a consulting, let it be a training mainly, and other services that we can provide. As I mentioned, we have started our journey from 2016, a young organization, but with deep pockets of experience in cyber security, technology securities, information security processes, and so on. So welcome once again, and we will start with the agenda. About the trainer, who is a trainer, how approach of the trainer towards this course, and overall C-Risk is an exam as such. What is a C-Risk? Area of focus, IT risk identification, assessment, treatment response, then monitoring and reporting of a risk and or controls. How exam is been designed by ISACA? What are general requirements for these exams? Who should appear for the C-Risk exam, and what would be the consequent benefits by appearing this exam that we would see? And how to approach ISACA C-Risk questions, overall my experience, and during this session we would see a couple of questions as well, how those are designed, how those are needs to be considered while coming towards the conclusion as our rationale, which is correct one, right? So let us start with our agenda, friends. About the trainer, I'm Mandar Sahasrabuddhe. I'm in this field for around 18 plus years. It is around now 19 plus, I should say. I have been working in this field from IT risk management, information security, specifically IT assurance consulting auditing perspective. I have done various engagements from SOX Sarbanes-Oxley, as well as 27001, 31000, as well as 27005. All these standards, I mean, this can be various numbers you would find, but those are various standards, those are various regulatory requirements that I have worked upon. And my experience lies in heterogeneous industry sectors. So I've been working with investment banking domain, oil and gas. Definitely IT service is a prime focus for me. It used to be manufacturing and fast moving goods, FMCG. So these are industry sectors. I have in possession various industry leading certifications, specifically from ISACA. I have various CGEIT, that is Enterprise IT Governance, CDPSE, just newly added to it. It is data privacy related certification. Of course, CISA, from where my journey started. CISM, Information Security Management. I am qualified lead auditor and trainer for ISO 27001 lead auditor program from PCB. And there are many more which I'm not mentioning over here. However, cutting story to start, I have around 200 plus hours of experience in internal and external training for information security topics and certifications. So this is me, and let us start with our overall agenda. So friends, what is C-Risk? C-Risk stands for Certified in Risk and Information System Control, CRISC. It is a ISACA certification. It is globally recognized, as well as globally standard bodies have also recognized. It has a recognition from ISO 17024 standard. It is ANSI recognition is also there, and it is globally accepted as one of the leading certification from information risk and information system controls perspective. Name suggests there are two major parameters or pillars, I would say. One is enterprise risk management within it, and towards mitigation of that, how information system, that is IS controls, can be implemented, designed, documented, implemented, monitored, and so on. So entire control life cycle also would be considered. So these are two pillars for this exam. Series addresses need for professionals who understand both technology and how to implement, and process as well, how to implement, align effective risk management and control frameworks with enterprise goals. That is very much important. In consequent slides, friends, we will see that how this goal cascade happens, maybe in next slide itself. There are two types of statements provided by ISACA during this course material as well. One is a task statement. What risk practitioner, generally they call it as who is certified in CRISC, they call it as a risk practitioner. So what risk practitioner is expected to do, those are tasks, and for that purpose he or she what kind of a knowledge should be possessed. So those are the knowledge statements. So what to do, and to for doing that, discharging those duties, what needs to be understood, what knowledge should be in the background. And entire exam would be revolving around these two statements. In consequent course, in detail, we would be anchored through these two statements. Moving ahead, these are exam area of focus. You can see 4 sections over here. You can see few percentage numbers that I will come to you explaining that. First, if we go anti-clockwise, the first IT risk identification, that is first domain for this exam, body of knowledge we can say, or in ISACA terminology, it is called as a CRM, that is C-Risk Review Manual. So you can see first domain as a IT risk identification. This phase result into the listing and documentation of identified IT risks. It carries 27% of weightage. In the next phase, that is IT risk assessment. So whatever IT risks that we have identified, we have to assess them. Predominantly assess means evaluate as well as analyze. So in this phase, risk is evaluated along with several dimensions. It carries 28% of weightage throughout the exam. Third phase, which is the next logical step, is risk treatment or response. We have identified risk, we have assessed risk, then we would treat those risks. Now, there would be approaches for treatment. There are multiple business cases, etc., etc. So those we would consider. But this phase requires management to decide appropriate ways to respond to risk. It carries 23% of weightage. And fourth and final, from exam perspective, is risk control, monitoring, and reporting. So you can consider one oblique over here, risk or control. So risk and control both we can monitor and report. Now this reporting might be at horizontal level, ladder up, ladder down, and so on. Communication is also would be involved. Many KPIs, KRIs would be involved, and so on. It carries 22% of overall weightage. So identify, assess, treat or respond, and monitor and report. These are 4 primary exam areas of focus. For all these 4, you would be having certain task statements and certain knowledge statements segregated, relevant to each domain out of these 4. Now, all we are actually discussing about IT risk, right? As per the ISACA, and I mentioned as well how that goal cascade proves that how IT risk can be seen, managed, and dealt with. You can see there are 2 strata over here, enterprise risk and IT related risk. Enterprise risk, we might be aware regarding there are various kind of risk that enterprise faces. Let it be a strategic risk, environmental risks, market risks, credit risks, operational risks, and compliance risk as well. Nowadays, IT is becoming a part and parcel of each of these functions. Let it be a marketing function, or let it be a operations, let it be a compliance, and so on. IT is going to be there horizontally, cutting across all those verticals And for that purpose, any risk which is posing coming out of IT or related, that may hamper all these type of risks. That means IT related risk can have impact on enterprise risks. So if we decompose these IT related risks, those are like benefit value enablement risk. So long-term strategic risk can have impact coming out of benefit or value enabled risk. If IT is not able to deliver a value, definitely strategic goals may hamper across all the organization and their strategic goals may not be achieved. So it poses a risk to enterprise. The origination of this may be from the IT. However, it is impacting across the organization. Similarly, IT program, project delivery related risks. So if major IT program fails, if project delivery is delayed, it poses certain amount of a risk originating from IT related but hampering finally enterprise. We know all IT operations and service delivery risk or SLAs, SLMs, overall infrastructure and related risks, processes, IT processes, change management, security management, and so on. So definitely any risks arising from these IT operations, again, they are hitting to the enterprise risks. Cyber and information security risks, nowadays it is a buzzword. Even in board of director meetings, cyber security and information security risk discussion has enough amount of weightage. All the leading boards here from either CIO or CISO regarding risks which are coming from cyber or information security area. So this is also important aspect. In totality, combination or isolation of these risks may impact or would rather have a high probability to impact enterprise risk. And during all these our course of a series, we would be considering how we can identify, assess, treat, or respond, and then further monitor and report these risks, IT related risks, in a such a way, in such an effective manner that we can guard our organizational goals intact. Any decision taken should be risk considered decision, or generally we call it as a risk averse decision. That would be the culture of an organization, to take any decision which is well thought based on the risk management perspective as well. So this is about overall the approach of the risk and all. I mean, while talking about this, that can be an ideal situation for any organization, that they have infinite resources at their disposal to achieve their business goals, which is not practical. So that is one constraint. Organization has limited resources. Whatever the scale might be different, small organization would face equal amount of a constraint, and big organization also would face equal amount of a constraint. And the other ideal scenario for the business success or achieving business goals is there is a no risk, which is also illusion. So there would be the risk, which is one of the important constraint, and other constraint is finite resources. Within these two constraints, the scope of solution lies, and organization have to take decisions. Organization have to formulate strategies considering these two constraints, and how we can achieve our goals, how we can provide a value to our customers, how we can realize our benefits within these two constraints. And for that purpose, one of the constraints currently we would be looking, that is risk optimization or risk reduction throughout this series course, which is predominantly related to information technology. Moving ahead, friends, we had seen risk identification. More or less, I would provide overview. What actually does this mean? What actually it covers, and so on. Definitely, detailed discussion would be throughout our course, which is around 32 hours of a course. There is a process, identification of a risk. For that purpose, we have to start with the asset identification. Now, there would be various approaches, building scenarios, building top to bottom, building bottom to top, and so on. Few would consider historical identification. So whatever risk already been materialized, and can we learn from them, can we record them, and so on. Few are inductive or systematic as well. It's a next logical step to inductive. We can say there are various approaches like FMEA, failure mode effect analysis, or there would be a fault tree analysis, and so on. There are various methods. Mahiri is there, which is 31000, that kind of a standard, which is enterprise risk management standard. It's a ISO standard. It's a guideline standard, not a requirement. However, many organizations follow that, and which is a backbone of their overall risk culture. It is there are NIST specifically talking about technology related or cyber security related risks. There are various frameworks from NIST from USA is there. There are various corporate governance methodologies are also mentioned where risk is rated high. I mentioned that I worked in Sarbanes-Oxley. The paramount requirement, and it is coming from COSO mainly. COSO ERM, Enterprise Risk Management. COSO is a framework. They also mention about the IT risks. There are approaches how to analyze risks and so on. So CRISC is actually, we can say, mapping to all of these various approaches, methodologies, frameworks, standards, and so on, which directly relating organizational IT risk related aspects. Now, let us come back to this particular figure that I have posted over here. It's a flow, right? Identify asset, identify threats with respect to these assets, identify existing controls to guard these vulnerabilities, and then identify various vulnerabilities. All this discussion is happening around this identified asset. Now, that might be a physical asset, that might be a primary asset or secondary asset. So information is a definitely asset, and the information which is possessed by say server or transmitted through any network topology, or there is a architecture for overall controlling the quality of this information, and so on, all became assets ultimately for organization, and these assets needs to be guarded. We would see that there would be a trio: confidentiality, integrity, availability, effectiveness, efficiency of that organization, and so on. So based on this, this is a process. After identification of a vulnerability, we would identify consequences. So consequences of what? If that vulnerability is getting exploited by threat, which we have identified, then what would be the impact? What would be the consequence? And based on that, we will estimate that how far this will go. What would be the final impact? Maybe in terms of dollars, maybe in terms of intangible impacts like reputation or loss of image and so on. That we will see in detail. And based on that, we will then after that start evaluating or analyzing. That means assessing the risks, right? This process actually involves many sub approaches, I would say. So risk register from C-risk perspective, risk register is a paramount document. I mean, nowadays this risk register is automated. There are various tools that is used. I mean, it is not an Excel worksheet now anymore, but in many organizations that is also tracked through Excel worksheets. Every organization has their different approaches to manage the one source of the data from the risk management perspective. So that is nothing but the risk register that we would see. Important concepts like risk appetite and risk tolerance that we would see in detail, which are actually ruling while we select the risk response, while we prioritize our risk response, and so on. Then further risk awareness, whatever the identified risk, whether those are communicated in such a way that all the decisions would be taken in light of risk aware decisions. So that we would see. There are concepts for a RACI, responsible, accountable, and so on, who should take what decisions what capacity or in what capacity. So who is a data owner, who is an asset owner, what are their responsibilities, duties, who would be the accountable for those decisions, who would be the responsible for those decisions, how reporting lines would get designed considering all these aspects. So these dimensions would be considered while identifying these risks. If you ask me, risk identification is very important and foundation of entire risk management. Let it be IT or enterprise, it is different aspect. However, in IT risk identification as well, the challenges are more because there is risk can come from anywhere. We need to be vigilant to the smallest, tiniest a breach of a policy that may pose a biggest impact ever as well. So for this purpose, and as IT is becoming more dynamic, more faster, more complex, risk with respect to IT are also following the same path. IT risks are becoming more complex, more dynamic, and they hit in such a lightning speed many times that we don't have enough time to respond as well. Only corrective actions we can take after things happen. We will discuss in detail in further course around this. There are many stories we would discuss, many experiences that we would explore, and we can definitely learn together. That would be learning process. For me, being a teacher or being a trainer is nothing but being a facilitator. In this age of a knowledge and information exploded already, no one can teach anybody. So we can facilitate each other towards this learning process. Let us explore this journey. Let us make this journey as fun as well, but that would be a rewarding journey for all of us, that to get what exactly risk management is. Definitely C risk exam is a target, no doubt, but that should not be only measure. That would be just indicator for us in technical language. But understanding overall risk universe and operating in that in a more informed way, which is the final outcome for me. And definitely C risk exam passing should be the byproduct. So let us eye on that as well. Okay, risk assessment, which is I mentioned next logical step. Once we have identified risk, then how to assess them. So there are various impact factors, surroundings, maybe organization culture, how organization is structured, whether it is a flat hierarchical, the culture is whether it is a blaming culture or open collaborative culture, risk averse or risk taking or risk ignorant. There are various different type of cultures. Directive and overall architecture, whether the maturity of architecture throughout the organization, and so on, that we would see. How is the control environment? How controls are designed and those are getting operated? Whether overall control environment, in COSO ERM, there is a one term, it's called as a tone at the top. So whether controls are being followed in the spirit by top notches senior management within that organization or not. If it is not, then control environment has more chances to be a weak, because walk the talk, that is the final thing. So control environment is not about preaching, but it is about the demonstrating. So that control categories, there are many, few of them are mentioned, like whether controls are corrective, detective, or we have directive, preventive, definitely deterrent. Because what generally happens, any mishap that needs to happen, there are three active agents should be required. One is intent. Someone wants to do something bad with the assets, that person should have first intent to do that. Second is a knowledge, and third is an access. We cannot control anyone's intentions. In current area, we cannot control anyone's knowledge, but yes, up to certain level we can control access. And the entire risk management from information security perspective as well may revolve around this access and all. But here a deterrent which may somehow may work on intentions of the person. Even though intentions are there, but looking at what kind of a reprimand that would be attracted, what kind of a punishment would get attracted, the person himself or herself will suppress their intentions. That's the actually prime objective, having a deterrent controls in place. There are various risk analysis methods: quantitative, qualitative, semi quantitative. We would discuss business harm tables as well. Many a times complexities or the quality of data may not provide a correct picture, even though it is a quantitative risk analysis method. So there we can take help from qualitative, and which is a generally, we can say, industry best practice, the hybrid of it: semi quantitative, semi qualitative, and so on. Come up with a risk map which are right from unacceptable to acceptable and so on. So that risk map, at one level it is a impact, the other level it is a frequency, and based on, we can identify that particular risk is posing where and how we can treat it. Methods of risk assessment, few of them we have already seen during the identification. That would be taking a journey further, like cause effect analysis. There are various Delphi method that arrange everyone kind of workshop, have various viewpoints while discussing the assessment of a risk. Brainstorming, because we have seen that the risk may have impact not at only IT, but it will have impact across the organization. There are various stakeholders, they will have their own say within this risk analysis process and so on, so that we would consider them. Control self-assessment also can be one part of it. Then information sources, while identifying and assessing this risk, we know that in organization there are various audits, maybe external audits, internal audits, or operational reports, let it be incident problem management reports or security breach reports and so on. We generally carry out vulnerability assessment, penetration testings. There are frequently or maybe some incident based such reporting happens. So we will gather all these reports, we will talk to respective people, and we will have our data points in such a stronger way that we can take certain decisions from risk management perspective. Gap analysis, which is more from strengthening the risk posture, current state, what should be the desired. Analytics, maybe a big data, and also inputs also we may use as a process. We won't be discussing much about the tools during this exam, because this is a tool or any specific product agnostic exams. So no discussion about the tools. What having a discussion purpose, we can quote various examples and so on. Then we have mentioned confidentiality, integrity, and availability from information security triad. Segregation of duties, rotations, job profile mapping, user personas, and so on. Authentication methods, IEEE model, we would say. So authorize, authenticate, then two-factor, three-factor kind of authentication. So this is generally going more towards the control part, because as we would be assessing risk, we would assess the existing control environment as well. If it is a weak, risk is more. If it is a strong, even though risk is there, but we can rate it at certain lower degree, right? So, and controls have tendency to get diluted as time passes. That is a universal truth. So for that purpose, again and again, we have to come up with monitoring of these controls, checking whether those are effective or not, efficient or not, etc., etc. So that would be more from risk assessment. And as I mentioned earlier, task statements and knowledge statements are well defined for each of these domains. Then risk treatment, IT risk treatment and response. You may find this particular diagram, beautiful diagram. If we are having top to down, we have seen in risk identification, risk scenarios, then in a risk map. With that help, we did risk analysis and so on. So as I mentioned, risk appetite and risk tolerance, these are two important aspects and which will rule the treatment. Why I'm saying The answer is here. Which risk ratings which are exceeding the risk appetite, those needs to be responded. And for that response, there are four options. You can see that at the left side of this box. So they are avoid, mitigate, share or transfer or accept. So just you can accept those risks if a certain tolerance can be provided. We can avoid if we are not able to at all able to manage that risk. So just abandon that activity. Mitigate actually providing certain controls, and then we can have operations in such a way that we can always monitor those controls and so on. Share or transfer, that we have to conduct this business activity, no doubt, but risks are a little bit at higher side. So either take insurance or share that risk with someone, like outsource it or have certain a partner with us to complete that business activity. So just small example more from a business continuity risk perspective, because for IT risk, it is not a different ball altogether. For example, data center. I want to build a data center. I will assess and I will come to know that, okay, there can be a risk prone zone. So just I will abandon the idea that, okay, I won't build data center over there. If we can say that by historic means or something like that, there is a chance once in a 20 years. Okay, let us go with it. But then building should be earthquake resistance, this, that, etc. That could be a mitigate. Now, if we consider that, okay, we can do that, but still there would be chances of having hitting that earthquake, which will have a massive impact. Okay, so we will come up with certain mitigation points, that earthquake resistance building, we will have a good material which may be flexible and so on. But at the same time, we will purchase certain insurance by paying certain premium. So that is a transfer. And acceptance is okay, we have seen that it's only once in a year or so, sorry, once in a 10 years or so. Even if the damage happens in a such a way that our company is in having such funds that we can easily absorb those losses from the business resumption perspective, well within our risk appetite, a little bit tolerance we can consider. I can say, okay, I accept. So these are four. So the situation is the same. What is the situation? That building a data center at little bit risky zone, maybe a seismic zone perspective, then how I can respond. Now, this is interesting to see that even though situation is the same, organization to organization response may differ. Risk ignorant organization would blindly go and say that, okay, I will build it. Risk aware decision making organization would consider, they will have a certain analysis and come out with their priorities, maybe a layered approach as well. So mitigate as well as share, both. And third one, who are not having that capacity to build, they will say, okay, forget it, I will not go ahead with this data center. I will find some sharing a facility somewhere else. Maybe a little bit it is expensive, but I'm not able to take that risk. That is a void. These are the responses, and based on what purpose we can take these responses, those you can find it at the right handed box. So efficiency of response, what is overall exposure, response implementation capability, not only financial but technical as well, that also needs to be counted, and further effectiveness of the response and so on. And based on that, we select this risk response. Then we will prioritize this risk response. So first, do we need to come up with mitigation activities or sharing activities or something like that? And for that purpose, we will come out with specific business cases, that what would be the benefit realization, the priorities, benefit and cost benefit analysis, because business case is a continuous dynamic document which will identify benefit realization aspects of it, risk reduction aspects of it, and then it would provide a balanced approach for the approval. And if it is approved, then overall risk action plan would be in action, and then overall this risk response or risk treatment activity would get fulfilled, and it will move to the next section of this domains or the next domain, which is monitoring and reporting. As I mentioned, I have what we can say posed one diagram over here related to risk culture, just to provide that how our behaviors would get directed when we implement our controls. Because control is not something external or alien body. Control is in blood of organization. And how do we take it? Whether it is only a behavioral negative outcomes, blaming culture, no control will work. If it is a learning culture, definitely a weak control also still we can manage to manage the risk. If we are conservative risk averse, then okay, more stringent controls would be there. If we are aggressive, so even though stringent control, but then you can find many exception policies are in action. If behavior is from the compliant perspective, then definitely organization would strictly follow those controls which are justifiable. And if we are not more compliant oriented mindset or culture, then even though certain regulatory penalties are there, still organization will say, okay, I will pay the penalties and move ahead. Maybe control weak, maybe risks are attracted, but they are okay to have that penalties paid. Based on this, and for that purpose, each organization is a different animal altogether while responding to our this risk or control environment. Now, how these controls can be reported or those are measured and so on, there are regular methods that we have done everywhere generally in performance perspective. Only one indicator is changed. Then you might have seen KPI, key performance indicator, key goal indicator, KGI. One more is added is a KRI, key risk indicator. So metrics should be the same, smart, it should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely, etc. But these KRIs may differ at various levels, like from for the CISO or the chief risk officer, KRI would be different. For business units, KRI might be different. At team level, KRIs might be different, and it follows the prime governance rule that all these KRIs should be aligned towards the final business goal. All these KRIs should be cascaded in a such a way from top to bottom and aligned from bottom to top. That we will have more detailed discussion about that. From where these KRIs would be measured, what we have risk action plan. So in earlier case, we have seen say risk action plan is to let us build the mitigated or more specific prone building, and then identification of various risk activities we need to come up with, whether we have identified that risk, whether we have come up with specific control implementation and so on. That is nothing but the risk action plan, and we will put all these KRIs around to measure whether controlled environment works are happening or not. KRI selection criteria, so its impact, effort, its reliability, sensitivity, repeatability, and so on. And how we would get these details. SIEM is there. Definitely security incident is one of the aspect. There are various aspects like audits and other resources that we have seen. So all those resources that we have seen in the identification part, definitely those would be contributing during the reporting monitoring part as well. So it is not like that, okay, in domain one, what we have done is done. It is not like that. It is a thread. So what we have taken steps in risk identification, those are still relevant till control monitoring and reporting. Then KPIs are there. Then why to monitor KPI, KRI, what is VAPT, and overall maturity models, risk maturity models, and so on. So all these discussions definitely would happen. So friends, by this particular IT risk control monitoring and reporting, we have covered at a very 30,000 feet or maybe a 50,000 feet bird eye view that how this exam would be focused, on which subject lines this exam would be focused, risk exam. Now we would see that generally how this exam, its design and its requirement. As per the standard ISACA, it's a 4 hours exam, 150 questions, and we can complete and end the exam. Now it is an online exam. Only the thing is nowadays that whether you want to appear it from your home or you want to go to your respective testing center. So a little bit different SOPs would be there that you can seek from ISACA website, and we will discuss as well. So no additional time for breaks during those exams, even if we are appearing that from the home. MCQs, 4 choices, and we have to select one. Best answer we have to select. Pass and fail notification displayed soon after the exam. That is a provisional, and after that you would get final result worksheet and all. 10 business days you would get for the official scorecard, and scaled score of 450 or more is required to pass. Maximum scaled score is 800. So even if you see you solve 150 questions, maximum is 800 scaled score, and for passing it is a 450. So those scaled scores, how the logic is and all, it is not that much disclosed by ISACA as such, but it clearly means that one question doesn't carry a same weightage altogether. So there may be a scenario based questions, there might be a straight concept testing questions and so on. Based on the complexity of questions, weighting may, or the weightage for that questions may differ. Okay. Overall, we require 5 years of relevant risk management experience, and we need an endorsement from the existing series professional, or actually boss as well, reporting manager as well, that can be provided. Overall cost of this exam to appear is 575 USD for ISACA members and USD 760 for non-members. For being a ISACA member is wise idea in my opinion, and as per my experience as well, because it opens you a lot of resources, and not only from this exam point of view, but overall being in the profession of risk management, it helps a lot. I repeat, it helps a lot. So that is anyway, it is an individual choice. However, now needs risk or their benefits, who want to appear for it. So by designations or roles or organizational designations, we can say who are business analysts, compliance professionals, control professionals, audit professionals, project managers, risk professionals. Already definitely those are required one. So for me, if we consider organization, generally it is, there are 3 lines of defense in organization. So first is actually operating, who are actually make the control self-assessments, who actually perform certain duties, maybe an application manager or your application administrator, data administrator, and so on. So those are actually first line. Second line might be these risk professionals. So who would assess the risk, who would identify the risk, who would monitor these risks and so on. And final, the third line of defense is actually internal audit department and so on. So if I want to be a successful risk practitioner and I'm working anywhere in this ladder, let it be I'm business analyst, I'm doing something reporting, I'm working on certain data models and so on. If I'm actually ITBP, we can say that ITA and business partner, the change agent, change management. If I'm working in compliance, definitely risk management is appropriate field from the further career guidance perspective as well. So anywhere, if I'm working, we are welcomed. And why this is so elegant? I use word elegant because the community is not widespread as such. Only 18,000 professionals are earned CIRIS certification across the globe. Still, this is 2010, but in last 10 years, this particular, what we can say, number is not increased by double. So you can consider importance of this exam as well. ISACA is a vendor neutral. We have already seen vendor agnostic, tool agnostic, product agnostic. So it only focuses on IT risk management. Hence, it is a most sought IT risk management certification today. It has a lots of respect. As per my experience, I am talking about. Many job profiles in investment banking require C risk professionals are prioritized while selecting for the jobs. You can find serious job opportunities, most job roles and all: IT security analyst, information security analyst, IT audit risk supervisor, and technology risk analyst, and so on. And definitely risk analyst is just a starting point of your career ladder. If we have background experience in such a way, that definitely further management, more strategic roles from risk management perspective, that also can be sought. Maybe our internal job change in that also this may. So this is overall benefits that we can see. Now there are three sample questions I have taken in this presentation just to provide you an overview that how you can expect, how one candidate can expect questions in the exam. This is purely from exam perspective. So which of the following provides the best view of the risk management? You would always see best, first, primarily, etc. words in bold and capital, and those carry certain meaning in this exam. And there are four choices given: interdisciplinary team, a third party risk assessment service provider, the enterprise's IT department, the enterprise internal compliance department, and so on. So which of the following provides the best view of risk management? So this is more from the view of risk management. As I mentioned, all the stakeholders, let it be compliance, let it be marketing, let it be a credit, let it be a strategic view, and so on. So there are various functions. First ever slide that we have seen, and IT related risks are cutting across horizontally to all these verticals. So an interdisciplinary team, option A, that would provide a best view of overall risk management. So that is because it is not only IT department, it is not only a third party. Oh, third party risk assessment provider may not have internal intricacies of the organization. The enterprise internal compliance department, okay, they may have, but more from the compliance perspective. And compliance is nothing but the conformance, which may not consider more from the strategic alignment of performance as well. I mean, once we go through in detail these courses, we may have the context for such a questions. Based on this context, we can directly strike out one distractor. Then there would be generally fight between two, I would say, candidates from all these four, and one should win considering applying the knowledge statements, applying the task statements. So that is an overall approach. I have discussed even the approaching these questions as well a little bit. Okay, let us consider second question, where you can see the bold and capitals is a most, right? So which of the following should be the most concern to the risk practitioner? Risk practitioner is nothing but we who are after passing the risk exam, C-risk exam, right? Many of you might be already in that role, but still wear this hat, analyze it. So A, failure to notify the public of an intrusion, failure to notify the police of an attempted intrusion, failure to internally report a successful attack, and failure to examine access rights periodically. In this, C and D would be the close candidates. There would be a fight between these two. That what is most concern? That failure to examine access rights periodically. Definitely that could be, but failure to internally report successful attack, that is more grave, most concern. That something has happened and I'm not aware of it. I am in completely ignorant mode. I don't know what has happened already. That is a most concern from risk practitioner perspective. That carries a more risky scenario. Okay. Likewise, third, maybe a last question. Here you can see primarily, that is a word. So which of the following would primarily help an enterprise select and prioritize risk response? So A is cost benefit analysis, available risk mitigation options, the level of acceptable risk per risk appetite, the potential to transfer or eliminate the risk, and the number of control necessary to reduce the risk, right? Prioritizing risk response is directly related to cost benefit analysis. We can see that a big diagram that we have seen. If this formulation of question would be a little bit different, that rather than prioritizing risk response, if there would be a selecting risk response, then answer would be B, the level of acceptable risk per risk appetite, because it is selecting risk response. After selection, there would be a prioritization, right? So we can practice maybe during our question answers, solving questions as well. There are few approaches from overall my experience that tweak the question in such a way that we can identify other option as an answer, which clears our concepts further and so on, right? So these are the aspects, and then already we have discussed in a such a way this particular slide, that how to approach serious questions, but just we'll have a cursory view. Look out for keywords like primary, best, most, last, first as well could be the word. Now to apply process what you know, but think what ISACA way of risk management, and it is very important. Unlearn and learn. This is the primary requirement of any learning process, however. But think from ISACA's perspective, what they have provided ideal answer, what they are thinking by mentioning pointers in risk review manual and so on. So what do you do in your job may not be always a right option for the question that may be relevant in your practical job scenarios, but maybe from this exam perspective that may not be always a right option. So that please keep it in mind. We have to keep it in mind. Out of 4, 2 options can be easily eliminated. Those are distractors. As I said, there are always a fight in 2 options, and then we have to come up with a right answer to that. Time that we have to manage, that is more important. And for questions which are confusing, then we can flag them, as it is an online facility. We can again revise it back, and then we can come up with the actual or the best identified answer to that. So this is overall approach. By this slide, I come to an end, this small overview of how to prepare or overall preparation towards the C-risk exam. So thank you very much for patient listening. I'm grateful. Thanks a lot.